All right, it is 7 o'clock. Welcome everyone to tonight's board meeting, and if you can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic that stands one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we don't have the speakers on, and I have my mask on, and we have a limited audience here with our presentation. So if I am not speaking clearly enough for folks here, just give me a little wave and I'll speak up. But starting off tonight, we have a presentation from the guidance department. So we're going to go ahead and start with that. Come on up, Mr. Preuss.
Have to turn it on.
Oh, that's great. So while we're getting this passed out, I just want to let anybody who is attending virtually know that this is a virtual meeting for those in the community, and that there will be the opportunity for public comment via email. So it's boe@lkgeorge.org, and that's what you send in if you have a public comment, and we'll have time for that later today. All right, Mr. Price, on to you.
Urge every faculty member to take a look at the mission and pull out keywords that were the most significant to them. And as I look at this mission statement in the context of the work we do as a counseling and guidance department, the keywords that really stand out to me are personalizing opportunities and also empowering all students. To me, these couple of phrases really speak to the efforts and the work that we try to do every day in fulfilling the district's mission. To provide some additional context, the New York State Education Department, using guidance from the American School Counselors Association and their comprehensive school counseling model, provides three main focal points for our work: social emotional development, academic skills development, and then college and career readiness. Organizing these three objectives for tonight's presentation, I think I did some intentional work reflecting our beliefs that each successive point is dependent in some level upon success related to the previous step. So a stronger set of social and emotional skills allows a learner to establish a stronger academic foundation, which in turn serves as a gateway to a broader array of options for their life. And as we inspected the work that we do, we realized that our work is threaded throughout the district's landscape across disciplines on every grade level to fulfill the district's mission, which again, emphasizing for our work, personalizing those opportunities and empowering all students. just to give you some additional background, when you look at what guides our work, we listed 3 items here that we turn back to when we think about the nature of our work, what drives it. Of course, we have the New York State Education Department social and emotional learning benchmarks. And to summarize these, basically there are 3 key benchmarks: developing self-awareness and self-management, using social awareness and interpersonal skills, and then demonstrating ethical decision-making. The American School Counseling Association has a very well-developed summary of social skills, self-management skills, and learning strategies that can be the focus of our work. And then the National Office of School Counselor Advocacy, which is an arm of the College Board, has developed 8 components of college and career readiness counseling. Everything from college aspirations and building those aspirations to academic planning, and then the eventual transition from high school into college and career. So these are on our minds as we work day to day. The big question is, what does our work look like? How do we do that? How do we support those benchmarks, standards, and goals for our students? Really, we undertook some brainstorming sessions, and rather than diving too deeply into too many specifics, we just want to present you with a diagram of some of the various ways that we conduct and accomplish our work. Everything from entering the classroom in various capacities, running programs, doing individual or group counseling, evaluating students social, emotionally, or academically, maintaining programs and initiatives. There's lots of things that we do day in, day out. One of the things I love about the work that I do in the department as a school counselor is that there's such a wide variety of initiatives and ways that we can engage with our students and accomplish these goals. We spend time with teachers. Well, let me back up a step. First of all, we spend time with students, counseling, informing, instructing, preparing, rehearsing, assisting. We do spend time with teachers, coordinating, consulting, supporting, problem solving. We invest in families, supporting, problem solving, coordinating, informing. And I'm proud that we're invested in multiple district decision-making bodies, so our views and our backgrounds are well represented on Spark, Forum, Cabinet, Child Study Team, our RTI committees, our mental health team, grade level teams. In addition, we continue our student-centered work through additional roles that don't necessarily fall directly under our department. We coach, we're club advisors. One of our members directs the Teen Center, Jen DeLolio. We have a Lighthouse coordinator, and Ann Mole, primary project coordinator. And Scott Smith sits on the Teen Center board. So not only do we impact our students through our direct roles, through our positions, but we're invested throughout the community to further our work. We selected just a couple areas to focus on tonight to dig a little bit deeper into. And Dana, I'm sorry. We wanted to focus on 3 areas that we felt represented some changes for our department. Touch on social emotional supports, some staff changes, and then our college and career readiness curriculum. Something wrong? As far as social emotional supports go, in the last 2 years, if they have taught us anything, it's that the school environment, being in person in school, are critical to many students' mental health and well-being. However, prior to school closures, remote instruction, mask requirements, we've known that the social emotional well-being of our students was being challenged by many factors. In addition, community resources can be scarce given increasing demand for support services and our rural location. I found it interesting that the American Academy of Pediatrics, along with 2 other professional organizations issued a declaration of national emergency in child and adolescent mental health this past October due to what they are seeing collectively in terms of the impact on the mental health of our children. We address social and emotional supports on a daily basis through our work, and is going to come up and just paint a little picture of what that looks like at the elementary school level, and then we'll go on to some of the other two areas you wanted to discuss.
So, program at the elementary school, as you hear quite often, is really the foundation or the umbrella over everything we do is the 7 habits and the leader and that involves the directly taught lessons that teach our students those skills that they will need in the workplace, future, and throughout their school year. And that is the leadership roles that they have in their classrooms at their grade levels and school-wide give them an opportunity to practice a lot of those skills and really find their voice in many ways. And that's the foundation, a good proactive kind of atmosphere, I guess, that we provide at the elementary school for the foundation of our mental health program, really. All of our students, as I mentioned, have a classroom leadership role. Many students have additional grade level and school-wide roles that give them voice and choice in their school. We have so many students interested in leadership that we have 2 large student lighthouse teams. The first time this year, we have 2. We had so many students that applied that we felt that they're large, and they are large groups as well. So wanted to give everybody an opportunity that was interested in leading. So that's grades 4 through 6, those students. And our Lighthouse team students have the opportunity to work on unique projects of their choosing. We facilitate, Jim and I facilitate those teams. They pick what they want to work on. We guide them. So that's, you are aware, I'm sure, many of the improvements that have happened at our building been a result of those students. Our 5th and 6th graders plan and run their monthly leadership awards, facilitate that group. They at times can get quite sophisticated in their presentations to their peers. They practice those public speaking skills, creativity in their Google slide presentations, and then they always plan an interactive activity because they want their peers to have an opportunity to not just be passive recipients of what they're not there to be entertained. They're there to learn too, as well as the awards. And many of our students also participate in or give input, have opportunity to give input to their teachers on who they feel it has really exemplified leadership in the classroom for that particular month. And those statements are read at these assemblies so that everybody can hear. But it's pretty powerful when you hear some of the things that the students say about and notice about their peers. We have about 50 students who are working on the Georgies. We call that the Georgies Leadership Awards. That's a pretty impressive number. And those students give up their lunch and recess twice in a cycle to and assemblies. So it's a highly valued piece of our school tradition. As far as our mental health team and other support, meet we are core members, myself and my two colleagues who are here, Sarah Dillman and Jennifer DeLolio. We are core members of the RTI team, so we attend those meetings and provide that input and support to our struggling students who are brought before that body for help support in the classroom. As a mental health team, the three of us meet weekly with, and frequently Jim attends that meeting as part of our universal supports provided, tier 1 support, do screening, a universal screening using the SRSSIE, which looks at internalizing, externalizing behaviors 3 times a year. And the data from that helps us to see where we might be helpful at what students might be needing services some type, and can help make sure that they get those services. Program. Scott Smith and myself, I think 10 years ago, was our first 6th to 7th transition program that we started with some of our 6th grade students transitioning to 7th grade. Scott is able to recruit high school students who are good role models and who are wanting that experience of mentoring another younger student to help make their transition smoother. We've had to take 2 years off. We were ready to go in 2020, and then everything shut down. And then last year we weren't able with the COVID situation, but we're hoping, and Jennifer DeLolio is going to be heavily involved in that program this year as well. So we're hoping to make that happen for our 6th graders. That's under the planning process right now. Banana splits groups have been continuing. Those were in place before I came here, and we've continued them, so I'm guessing they've been around for at least 40 years. A very, very popular support for our students who come from changing family situations, and that's by parent permission. At lunchtime, and Mrs. Dillman and I facilitate those groups. She has K to 2nd grade, and I do 3rd through 6th. Lastly, but not least by any means, is new to us is with Jennifer coming on board and her interest in mindfulness skills. She's been able to bring those skills into our classrooms, and in fact, we have a few students from the 4th grade student lighthouse team who are so interested in mindfulness that they've emailed her and she and I and asked to if they could start a mindfulness club. So we will actually be meeting with them tomorrow to work on that. So that's pretty much an overview of big picture at the elementary.
See the breadth and variety of programs and supports that our department develops and implements. Another thing we wanted to emphasize with you this evening is just a quick snapshot of our department staff, and what I look at as quite a transition over the last 4 years, really. This slide kind of highlights departures we had from our staff, starting with Rosemary Earl in 2019. Last year, we had our 2 school psychologists retire. This year, as they've both announced, Ian and Jamie will be retiring as well. Another thing can you just advance one more slide for me? Another staff change that I want to recognize as well is Kim Wilson, who is a teacher on special assignment and served as a director of student support services, has also departed. I'm heading to a different district at this point. So when you look at the departures from our department, You know, I put the statistic up there. It's more than a 70% turnover in our staff in a 4-year period. Thankfully, oh, you want to go back one? I guess I clicked that. Thankfully, we've welcomed several new staff members on board. So Jen Delolio and Sarah Dillman are in position now. What we look forward to in the near future, looking at to next year, that their roles will shift a bit by position. But what we're most appreciative of, and I just really want to emphasize, is the board's commitment, your commitment to making sure that the staff departures that we're experiencing are replaced with additional staff. Very appreciative and looking forward to having an elementary school counselor return to that building full time, being able to have a social worker that works at the elementary school. And just based on the work that we do on all 3 of those main objectives, the social, emotional, the academic, the college and career readiness, we appreciate your commitment to helping our department maintain the work that it does. So the third area I just want to spend a moment discussing is our college and career readiness specifically. We spent some time this year taking a look at our elementary school college and career readiness map. We plan to build that out further as the year goes on. And the goal really is to infuse more direct college and career readiness programming and information into the robust programming that the Lighthouse curriculum already provides. We didn't want to double up a curriculum, but we did want to kind of focus on where those college and career ready skills and opportunities could be placed within the context of the Leader in Me. I think it's interesting to note on the chart from the National Office of School Counselor Advocacy, 6 of their 8 competencies, they kind of strike as belonging at the elementary level. So we wanted to take a look at that. And then along the way, we're also refining our college and career ready delivery at the 712 plan, at the 712 level, focusing on our career plan and how we're collecting that information and having it travel with the student year to year, coordinating classroom presentations and activities and experiences. You know, a lot of the emphasis on the career plan currently is that students reflect on their work experiences, they reflect on their thoughts and research rather than just doing it. The plan calls for them to kind of do a little bit of synthesis and processing about what skills they might need to grow or what skills they might need based on their current trajectory. So in summary, when it comes to resources and needs, as I mentioned, maintaining staffing is a big priority for us. It helps us continue providing a strong level of support. We appreciate the district's commitment to providing access to professional development, professional organizations for all of our staff. Find that of great value to us as we develop ourselves. As we look ahead to the coming years, and of course there's a lot of discussion about declining enrollment and how we respond and what that's going to mean for us as a district. We value maintaining that breadth and depth of course offerings. On the college and career front, we spend a lot of time, I know I do personally, my work, talking about how we can maintain these opportunities for our students as we look at our enrollment shrinking. So I would look at that as a need, a desire, your support in that regard to be able to maintain the wide selection of opportunities we have for our students academically. For a small rural school, I've never compared directly, but I would imagine that we have probably one of the most robust offerings of early college career academy, P-TECH program, New Vision program, CTE program offerings, which just provide access to our students with a whole variety of interests. So I'd love to see that continue. We'll work on that to make sure our students have access to those individualized goals and interests that are so important to them. Another resource that we want to emphasize is just the continuing support we have through you for our social emotional supports, the programming that Ann described, resources like the Oasis Room, staff at the junior and senior high school. And a final point really, in terms of needs, you know, our department has spent some time talking about just how we utilize data. And wanting to use data to inform our decision making. So, good synopsis of resources and needs. Just a quick return to our mission. We want to thank you for enabling us to do our work. We're open to any questions you may have about the presentation or things you might have heard specifically from Ann or myself this evening. But the bottom line is we thank you for your support. We look forward to your support in the future, and we are always available as you have questions or needs about the work that we do. Any questions for me right now or any member of my department? We're all here.
Thanks. It looks like Melissa's got it.
Yes, I just have a question. It's psychotherapy has been, so it's a shortage. I really am having a difficult time even getting my own patients for therapy, for therapy services. And a lot of the elementary school cases, you know, being treated for anxiety or depression, therapy would be the primary treatment. Are you able to meet the needs of the students? Or I know a lot of schools are partnering with Northern Rivers and BHSN. Any thinking, or how are we meeting those needs at this time?
I know, well, and department members, if you contribute to this conversation as well. I mean, everywhere you read about the increasing need and the rise in anxiety. I think the way we've dealt with it, I can speak to what we've dealt with in our building with 712 level. Say our child study team certainly keeps close tabs on things we're aware of as far as students who are in crisis or students who are struggling. We work to maintain, I think, strong relationships with outside agencies. We spent some time last year, the previous year, having a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but a number of outside agencies come into school to talk about their services and supports. We don't have any clinicians that come into the building currently to see students, but just by maintaining that network, I think referrals are easier that way. I know through our counseling association, which functions regionally, we a therapeutic psychiatric support center come and speak to all the counselors in the region. And so that helped us understand the services they provide. And I know we have students connected to that agency specifically. So I'd like to think that we're able to connect students to the proper supports as they express their needs and as we become aware of them.
I find that people to
Yes.
encourage them to wait, you
Yeah.
know, that they're not going to be. Hudson Headwater, many of our students use to be staff
To meet the needs of.
to.
And then just one more question. What's the status of the Oasis room right now? Been utilized? Are we utilizing it?
We are. I know Scott been coordinating staff that are supervising the Oasis room. It's used on a daily
good.
basis.
Good.
So do you want to speak to that at all, Scott, or just?
Got to come up to the mic.
It's going very well. I mean, last year we had at least one person as a dedicated individual in there all day. We have several staff that are interested and, you know, a couple of periods at a time, but it's always open. And on Friday, we have our first art therapy day, 10th period. So the announcement is going out tomorrow to anybody interested in self-expression, therapy, psychology, and art should go. So be very interesting. And so we hope to continue that other Fridays as well.
Thank you. I have a question, that's a striking number. It's for anybody, the whole team, the striking number of 70% turnover. And with that, we recognize we're losing a lot of historic knowledge in the district, and at a time when there's a lot of focus on social, emotional, and mental health. My question is, have you had time as a department, because there's an upside to that too, where there's a chance of renewal? Have you had time to reflect and collaborate together as a department to envision what could be the future of a new reconfiguration or strengths that are important to us?
That's a great question. I would say we do.
Ooh. Okay. All right. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to make a motion to make a recess for a moment. Can I get a second? All those in favor? Okay, motion passed. Just going to take a recess for 5. At the table, and thank you everyone for your part in responding to the emergency and your care. And EMS did a great job of getting here soon, so we're grateful. We're grateful for everybody's help. All right, so that concludes our first presentation, and we're back on to our agenda, and we come to the elementary update. Mr. Conway.
Okay, so I do want to thank the folks who are still here for that presentation. Steve did a great job, and as a department, they truly allow our kids to be successful with all that they provide. And I think there's a whole lot more that they do that they didn't even get a chance to get to, but I'm very thankful for all the work that they certainly do for our students. So Happy New Year, everybody. Right, first time we've been back. I do want to just recap. We had a great holiday season, and it was a wonderful time. I know that some of you had a chance to come down and join us for our sing-along, but also our concerts and special events that were going on in the building. The PTSO did hold their holiday fair. Bridget Crossman led a gingerbread library event, and there was so much more that happened in December. So our kids really had a great time, and it was a very festive atmosphere, which was great. I do want to mention December 23rd, the conference day. I don't think it could have gone any better than expected. Dr. Huntley did a great job leading our staff, and I know both staffs in a great discussion connected to our mission. It was timely and welcomed by the staff. And we had a chance to talk a little bit about it today at our cabinet meeting, and the feedback was very positive. So I thought that went really well. Quick COVID update. When we get back to school, we're continuing to be vigilant with all of our procedures, and hats off to our staff for doing that. Certainly the uptick after the holiday season hit us, and I think we're now coming back down out of that, at least fingers crossed. I hope so. Probably the biggest challenge for us is, and it's been an ongoing challenge pre-COVID, is when we do have staff, whether it's 1, 2, 3 people that are not in, there are no substitutes. And we're working hard as a district, and even had conversations today at our admin meeting about the best way to recruit and retain folks that will substitute for us. And I think we're through that tough stretch, and our staff has been very flexible, I know in both buildings, to allow us to kind of fill gaps when we have them. So positive things are happening there, and hopefully we're on our way out of this bubble that we went through. I mentioned educational cabinet, and we talked about today, the 23rd, but some of the things that the cabinet members are responsible for, some of those big school-wide events. They lead teams in the building. One team is working on what we're calling a Rocking Reading Challenge. It's a school-wide reading challenge, and when you come into the building the next time, when you walk in and you look into the cafeteria, on the outside of the cafeteria, you'll see pictures of our staff, the grade level teams in canoes. And the idea is that kids are working towards achieving their own personal score, which is a private score, a grade level score, which actually is a public score where they're trying to move their canoe across the lake. And it's something that we were about ready to do. Actually, we started 2 years ago, and then it came to a screeching halt, and we're back on board with it this year. But that's been done through our cabinet. I'll keep you posted on that. You'll see the canoes making their way as you stop down. Our math night in February, our PARP celebration in March, and they're all very different this year with some new twists. Science fair in April, Flag Day celebration in June, and the leadership assembly in June as well. So a lot of big events being planned with different twists than we've done in the past. And then finally, I shared that I would give you an update. I think I talked about what the 4th grade Lighthouse kids were working on at the last meeting. So our 5th and 6th grade teams got together, and we have 2 girls that are organizing our school memory book. They put together an entire yearbook, which is pretty amazing. They do all of the work. I have nothing to do other than sign a contract. And they're putting that together. We have a group of students that are determined to install the Gaga ball pit that I talked to you 2 years ago about in front of the school. It is going in, and they actually recruited some of the kids that were in a Lighthouse a few years back, but that is going to happen this spring. Another group is planning on adding color and quotes to the gym walls, and as they put it, to make the gym more inspiring. So I don't know what it's going to say, what it's going to look like, but our gym will look different at the end of the school year. We also have a group of students, and these are again 5th and 6th grade kids, coming up with some dates to bring a therapy dog to LGS. They're looking to do some different sessions with a therapy dog. So that's it. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Jim, I was just going to make one
Yep.
comment. You know, I just started thinking about putting messaging up that's inspiring. So I was at the holiday sing-along, and when I left, we walked through the building to come out, and the messaging on the walls in the building, honestly, I think one of them was, I think I had a great mayor because,
All right.
and of course, the reasons that they're coming are like the most important reasons that there are
Yeah.
for serving, and it's just so wonderful, honestly, and the messaging is so powerful. I left there thinking maybe there's a leader in me somewhere.
Yes. Oh, there is.
I just it's so powerful on such a like a very visceral level, and it's just really so good to see it and experience it. Yeah, so
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you remember that, Mary Ann, because I happened to be walking through after the sing-along, which was fabulous. And I was so inspired. I had somebody take my picture in front of the wings.
That's great.
Because it was just really powerful. Yeah. So thank you for remembering that, Mary Ann.
Thanks so much. All right, Mr. Kokoza, you're up next with the high school report, junior, senior high.
Hi, good evening. I'll be quick. Similar to the elementary school, a very quick update about COVID, specifically at the high school with our 7 through 12 population. We have approximately 20 kids right now, 20 students in isolation and/or preventative quarantine. Isolation is when you're COVID positive. Preventative quarantine is when you have a contact with a positive individual. So about 20 students right now. That's a little uptick from our experiences in the past. However, we have been much higher. We're hopeful that number is starting to come down. At least the frequency is starting to come down with students going into either isolation or quarantine. And we currently have 1 staff member who's in preventative quarantine. So our numbers right now are manageable. One of the challenges right now is that the state rules, the state Department of Health, along with Warren County, they're trying their best to stay on top of the changing situation in our state. However, the quarantine rules keep changing. So we're doing our best as a district to communicate when we can what those changes are. From a basic standpoint right now, yes, the quarantine rules are a 5-day rather than the original 10 days, which at one point was 14 days, if you recall. So generally speaking, it's 5 days. However, what remains the same is as simple as anything. One, wear your mask and wear it properly. Stay home if you're not feeling well, and let the school nurse know if your son or daughter has tested positive. I think we're doing very well on those three simple things. And as everything else changes around those three simple things, those tenets still remain the same. Plus washing your hands, of course, yes. So we're doing well with the changing situation around us. Our shared decision-making body forum is actively planning two worthy mentions. Right now, we are looking for a winter club fair. We traditionally have done our club fair, club recruitment in the fall at the beginning of the school year. However, we have found in our surveys that very small numbers of 7th and 8th grade students have signed up and are participating actively in clubs. So Forum, looking at that challenge, decided that at the end of second quarter, we're going to do a heavy recruitment and target our 7th and 8th graders. So that information about that will be coming out soon. And secondly, one of our goals is to engage with parents, and we are planning minimally two evening parent universities, and parents can choose to bring their child with them. The first one is already planned. The second one is still tentative. We're looking to bring Mike Nearney. He has spoken here before, and he gave us a large number of presentations that he could tailor for our school. However, based on feedback from our shared decision-making body, we've chosen a topic of, the title is, I love it, Don't Hit Send, the Impact of Social Media on the Adolescent Brain Development / Addicted to Technology. So be looking for information that's most likely going to occur late January, sometime February. We just have to work it out with Mr. Nearney when he can come here. And then finally, tomorrow evening, we're going to have our first in a series of parent meetings regarding the junior prom. We are slated at this point to have our class of 2023 junior prom on April 30th, which is a Saturday, at Blue Water Manor. That's not to be confused with the senior class's prom, the class of 2022, which is scheduled for Friday, June 3rd at Fort William Henry. So last year's senior class chose to delay their prom, their junior prom, until this year. So their prom, the seniors, will occur at Fort William Henry on June 3rd, with the coronation occurring at Shepherd Park. They also chose to do a cruise on the lake and a picnic the week after, Thursday, June 9th. However, our juniors are actively planning their prom. So our hope is that we can hold it, and our hope is that by April 30th, that we'll have the flexibility to host a coronation along with a prom. However, what a post-prom would look like is still to be determined. So tomorrow night's evening with the parents is to start the fundraising aspect of the post-prom for our juniors. So that's tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the 7th grade cluster. And I believe those are all the items that I had.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions, comments?
University program. I had experience working in a district years ago that did something similar, and it was such an amazing program, because not only was it helpful parents and their children, but it really did help with that relationship between the school and the parents, and just that trust and that camaraderie is just another piece that we can offer to everybody together. I think that's just wonderful.
I agree, Janine.
Yeah.
Our forum really looked at how can we re-engage parents, and this came up immediately because pre-COVID, we did several of these parent nights with Mike actually hosting several of them. So we're excited to re-engage with that.
Well, thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm excited to hear about the problem solving for engaging the 7th and 8th graders when you realized that there could be more engagement with them with the clubs and activities. And I'm delighted to hear that. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Katie.
Thanks so much. All right, Dr. Huntley, you're up.
Thank you. So Jim mentioned December 23rd, our Professional Development Day. It did go very well in my opinion as well. I was impressed and really pleased with the participation of the faculty and staff. We did focus on mission and core values. I want to thank Steve for his presentation and also incorporating the mission statement into his presentation. And it was nice to see that carry over. I want to thank Jim and Fran for their help in organizing that day. They were instrumental in making it successful, and Megan Coker did was a particularly strong contributor to that day. I work with Megan quite often, at least once a week, but probably a little bit more than that, and I'm looking forward to the time that we can work in person together, but so far we've been working really well virtually. The day went well, and I was impressed with the faculty and the staff, the work that they put into the day, and they really impressed me as being dedicated and focused on the mission statement and core values. Also, Janine might be mentioning the 2018 capital project. I'll only comment that we are approaching the final stages of the 2018 capital project. We're approaching the punch list phase. So Tetra Tech should be here shortly within the next couple of weeks to start identifying punch list items so that we can get those done and close out the project, which is encouraging. We'll be hosting a school vaccination clinic here on our elementary campus and in Jim's building. We're looking forward to that. It's January 20th, Thursday, in the late afternoon. We're still working with Warren County. Warren County Public Health will be conducting the clinic, and we'll be facilitating and doing the background work so that the clinic can be as successful as possible. I do want to mention a couple of things about COVID too, and one of them is the test kits that we distributed recently. We put quite a bit of time and effort into how we distributed them to make sure that every single test kit was used in its intended purpose. So it took some organization, and the administrators, of course, were instrumental in distributing those test kits, but Carrie Becker, Faith Helms, Anna Haladic, and Lisa Fox also did a terrific job in helping with that whole process. We conducted 2 afternoon sessions in which parents would come in and pick them up, and 2 evening sessions too. And we're told, in fact, I just learned this afternoon, or this evening, as a matter of fact, that we have more test kits coming to distribute. And finally, Warrensburg Central School District had a Board of Education meeting last night in which they approved the football merger. So it's been, frankly, it feels like a long time coming, but that was the last local decision that needed to be made in order to make that happen. So we're pleased to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those excellent reports. Do we have any questions, comments? Good. All right, I'm moving right along. I just want to give a quick report out to the board that Mary Ann and I had the great pleasure of attending 3 different listening sessions in the superintendent search that what we did after we had the survey and the community forum. We had a chance to sit with a group of students from the junior senior high school. We had another forum with faculty and staff, and then we had another forum with our administrative team. And I just want to thank everyone who attended those sessions or who worked to create those sessions. And I know that every single board member would have liked to be present, but based on our rules and our quorum and so forth, that wasn't to be. So I can just let you know that each of those sessions and just impressed me so much with the earnestness, the investment that all the students and the professionals had coming to us with their excellent suggestions. Rising to the top of those suggestions, we're looking at strengths in relationship building, collaborative leadership, emotional intelligence, being a visionary, being both supportive and challenging, instilling confidence, and being an excellent listener. So those were the skills that were spoken about the most and crossed over all of those three cohorts that we listened to. And there were a number of questions about Jim Dexter's role in our search, and we clarified that he's very much synthesizing information that's coming in, and that the board is making decisions as we go. We're going to be making a few more decisions. We have a proposed executive session later to talk about things like salary and things that we're not going to be talking about in the open meeting, but his support has been fantastic, and we really appreciate that. He'll be joining us to give some more guidance too. And Doug stepped back from all of those meetings. So Dr. Huntley, your ears must have been burning, because in each of those sessions you were held up as a gold standard. And I want to thank you for the gift of the example that you're giving our district right now to look at, what we are looking for in superintendent. You embody a lot of that, and it was recognized. So thank you. So let's see. We spoke with all of these folks about how competitive the search is, and that we have 12 vacancies. And we're going to be balancing our priorities and understand that we're in this competitive process, and a lot of thought and effort is going into the calculations later today when we're talking a little bit more about finding our salary range that is the right fit for our district. Any questions for me or Marianne? Marianne, do you have anything else to add? You're welcome. And we had such a good time doing it. I would say that it would be a nice thing for other board members to have listening sessions going forward whenever opportunities arose. It was just a nice opportunity there.
I would just say it just also just reaffirmed like the sense of process of those listening sessions, the experience of it. It felt so cohesive and connected among the sessions. It just made, I just would want you to know that it felt like the process, it felt very sound and grounded, and it was a positive experience. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, next up, Katie Bruning with Audit and Finance.
So the Audit and Finance Committee met last on December 15th, not 16th, 15th. We reviewed the November Treasurer's Report, and during that review, we noted that the account balances for the NICLAS and NILAF are currently low. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, Lynn, but that's on purpose, because right now the interest rates are so low that it's not the best place for the district to have their money, and that's going to be reevaluated if the rates go up. The November claim audit report was reviewed, and we were very famous for asking a few questions, at least at each meeting. One of our questions was just a clarification about the claim auditor's report versus the independent auditor. And just for a review, the claim auditor's report is a monthly thing that's done, and every single payment before the checks are released is checked out to ensure the payments are appropriate and accurate. And the independent auditor they just review a cross-section, a sampling, and that's done that's annual. Yeah. We reviewed the tax collection report, and unpaid taxes are turned over to the counties for collection. And the town and county bills that are mailed in January will include the schools, any unpaid taxes for the schools and the counties. We have Warren and Washington County in our district, and they are required by April 1st, any unpaid taxes, they actually cover that, and it's up to them to do the collection. So that's a burden that the district doesn't have, which is we're grateful for. The initial LGEA negotiation meeting was scheduled for December 16th to review ground rules. A comprehensive spreadsheet was populated with current association members' data that will allow the district and association to calculate the cost of proposals. And I'm just very impressed at the thoughtful approach to these negotiations and the balancing of the needs, the wants, and the fiscal responsibilities for the district. So thank you for your work on that. The committee reviewed a request to create a substitute bus driver rate for Lake George District retired bus drivers. And the recommended rate will be $24 per hour, which is the rate that we're currently paying our bus drivers for extra trips. And maintaining retired bus drivers as substitute is really advantageous to the district because they have the experience and familiarity with our routes and our students. And that's in the consent agenda tonight for voting. And on December 14th, Lynn did a business office presentation. And I want to take the opportunity right now to thank Lynn properly. I gave great kudos to Mama Mia that night. And then we had the presentation. And for me, it's so comprehensive. It kind of blows my mind how much the business office does and how many layers there are. And for me, I was like processing and layering the information and kind of digesting, and did not properly thank you for that wonderful, informative presentation. So thank you. So anyway, at that presentation, there was a mention that the district spends 76% of its budget on salaries and benefits, and this is pretty typical for districts across New York State. And we will be reviewing budget information at our January audit finance meeting. So that's it. Any questions?
Questions? All right. So we're going to move on to Rosemary Earl, who is with us virtually, and she's going to give us the curriculum committee report.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Well, the curriculum committee, let me get my minutes out here. Okay, the curriculum committee met on December 14th. We had an excellent presentation from the English department, K-12, by Emily Holderman and Bonnie Hart and Fran Kokoza, because Bill Elder was sick that night. The presentation is included, the link is included in your agenda. It was a really comprehensive presentation. It was very good. I don't know what else. Does anybody have any questions about it? Did you have a chance to look at it? Can you hear me still?
Yes, we can hear you. Any questions folks had on that presentation? Thank you for including that in the minutes. Oh, Melissa's got one. Go ahead, Melissa.
No, I just want to say no.
Thanks, Melissa. Okay.
Great. Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I know that we've had some community member inquiry into some of our programming, and it's great that we had the opportunity to have this presentation and answer questions. So thank you. All right. Anything else? All right, that concludes curriculum, and we're going to end with policy.
Okay, I think this is fairly brief for me this evening. Tonight, we have got 5 policies moving to second read, and 1 policy moving to first read. 1 policy is being rescinded this evening. So first off, the policy moving to first read this evening is 1337, duties of the school attorney. And that was reviewed electronically per our routine manual review, and the revision was just a minor wordsmithing for accuracy in that one. And the policy that's being rescinded is 1512, which is the public comment policy, and that's being rescinded because 1510 is moving to second read this evening, and which is regular board meetings and rules, quorum, parliamentary procedure, and public comment. So we took public comment and absorbed it into policy 1510. So since we're moving forward with that tonight, the other one will be rescinded. Additionally, the policy committee is currently receiving survey submissions from the DEI ad hoc committee, and we'll continue to receive those surveys through this coming Friday, the 14th. And then our next policy meeting is next week on Tuesday, the 18th. Thank you. Questions?
Thanks, Marianne. Any questions? Nope, we're good. Okay, we do have 1 public comment that came through on the email. And Sarah's going to go ahead and read that for us.
Okay, this one is regarding audit and finance. The question is posed by Lisa Doster, a parent of a student in the district. Can the budget account 1010 Board of Education funds in use be itemized and explain what are the over 30,000 funds used for?
That'd be great. Thank you.
So within the Board of Education heading, you have various subheadings such as materials and supplies, contractual, conferences, etc. So they're used for a variety of reasons. Travel is another one of them. I think we're very light on materials and supplies, so probably without looking at specifics, the majority of that is going toward professional development for the board.
Excellent. Thank you. And I know this year we had more planned to spend on the NISBA conference that was then turned into a virtual conference without the fees. So there's less spent this year. However, this board has been very good about taking advantage of conferences and professional developments when they are offered. So it's been we've benefited from the budget line. Yeah. Thanks. Anything else?
Their questions are meant for public comment period number 2.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we're going to move on to the school business consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the school business consent agenda items A through G. Among those include regular minutes, Committee on Special Education recommendation, the Treasurer's report, Claims Auditor report, a number of policy, the second reading on a number of policies that are listed on the agenda. We also received a donation of $500 from Caldwell Church as a donation to the district's backpack program. And finally, there's one other policy item, action item.
Right. Katie made a motion. Do we have a second? Lynn's got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. All right. So next up, we have our faculty staff consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff consent appointment items A through D. That would include Kathleen Sawyer as a probationary appointment for a part-time hourly food service helper. Also, a memorandum of understanding with the Lake George Central School District and the Lake George Staff Association. Katie mentioned that in her presentation. What we're really doing here is moving salaries that are below minimum wage to minimum wage wherever that exists. Also, 21, 22 substitute rates, the same applies there. And we have a volunteer coaches list for 21, 22.
Okay, Katie and Mary Ann, and all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion is carried. All right, we're to our next period of public comment. Board comment. I skipped you over. Sorry, everybody. Do we have any board comments? All right, we're going to move to public comment.
All right, the second one also comes from Lisa Doster. She says that she agrees 100% with the suspension of all board development until such time we have obtained and hired a new superintendent, as we stated October 8th, 2021. Due to such high COVID-19 rates in our district, she is requesting our board to extend the DEI ad hoc policy response timeframe until such time COVID-19 is behind us, as our previous superintendent stated in our 21-22 goals. As we move forward to assess if DEI policy is really needed or will actually be adopted, we need to understand that a policy like this is to support and accept any individual difference, heritage, or background and not oppress. 12/4/2020 Culture and Climate Meeting Minutes, who states our evolving culture and increasing awareness of diversity and inclusion is revealing that the Indian head is no longer a unifying symbol for the district. This statement is counterproductive and hypocritical to the new DEI policy we look to possibly adopt. We need to be very careful how we proceed.
Thank you.
And on to another one from Craig Jones, parent of students in the district. At what percentage of absenteeism due to COVID-19 will the elementary school close or go remote? Based on the number of students and teachers that have recently tested positive at the elementary school and the number of kids quarantined or absent, I would guess absenteeism is over 10%. What is the threshold at which the district has decided closure is necessary? What is the school policy during any other flu or viral outbreak?
Thank you. Is that the last one on that list?
There is one more.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and read that one, and then we can have a quick comment to the COVID, I think.
This is from Sherry Jones. Once the infection levels in the schools reached the point of needing to consider remote learning, the school abandoned their original plan. That plan was based upon infection rates and subsequent student safety as the litmus for studying in person. In person of that plan, the school administration, in place of that plan, the school administration assumed a new criteria that only considered staffing and the ability to operate and did not give any weight to infection rates. Given it is now clear that students are getting infected while in school and also throughout the community, is the school going to reconsider health of the students and their families? Has there been any discussion as to this issue or changes in plans, even if just for the next couple of weeks, as our healthcare system is becoming overwhelmed? As we understand it, there is additional funding allocated to New York schools to help the numerous students who have fallen behind academically. We appreciate the tutoring offered to select number of students, but it requires students to get to school at crazy early hours and is not available to all students in need. What are the plans for that funding? Will the extra help be expanded so more students can benefit?
Thank you. Thank you, folks, for submitting those comments. We really appreciate those. Dr. Huntley, did you want to make a comment to any of those on the COVID front?
Well, generally speaking, the safety and welfare of children obviously is our highest priority. and the safety and welfare of adults as well is our highest priority. So there are an awful lot of factors that we take into consideration in terms of dealing with COVID or any other safety issue that faces our district. There is not a percentage that we use as criteria for moving to virtual learning. This question deserves much more of a response than we can give it tonight. But we also know that transmission of the disease is very rare within the school. We don't have an instance in which that has occurred so far. Doesn't mean that it can't occur, but we don't have an instance. So children are very safe in the school. And we know that sometimes transportation is a bit of a concern, but we haven't had very many transmissions on the school buses either. So we try to balance the safety and welfare of the students, knowing that they're safe in school, and compare that to when students are not in school. Now, when they're in school, we know they're supervised, we know they're masked, that we know that they're social distancing to the degree that we can do all of that. And oftentimes in a less structured environment, that doesn't happen. So there's an awful lot to consider in terms of dealing with COVID and moving to virtual learning as opposed to in-person learning. And we're not even mentioning yet social emotional issues that are associated with students not being in school, not being with their peer group, not learning in a structured or semi-structured environment and being on their own, sometimes isolated, sometimes in environments throughout the course of a day that are less productive than being in school. So there's an awful lot to consider. I know that administrators have opinions of their own on this. I think at this point in time, unless there's something that I didn't mention, that would be it for the time being.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I can speak that when we have our updates, when Doug reaches out to me or when we have agenda setting, this is at the forefront of something that is being looked at every day, and there are changes every day. It's not something that there is a decision then we forget about it. It is absolutely something that we all are considering, and I thank you for your attention to that.
It would be remiss of me not to mention the work that's done by the administrators with the contact tracing that they have been doing, and particularly the work of the nurses. We have such dedicated professionals in the building that respond very quickly and appropriately to any health issue, included the COVID issue. So I want to make sure I mention them. They're doing a fabulous job.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and propose an executive session, that we enter executive session for the discussion of employment history of an individual and the appointment or employment of a particular person. Motion. We have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried, and we do not anticipate coming back into public session. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, those who attended virtually.